Let's talk about Galino because this show has been very careful about how it presents this man, and that carefulness is not accidental. Every scene he has been in, every word he has spoken, every look he has given has been measured and deliberate. He does not raise his voice, he does not make dramatic speeches, he does not threaten people the way insecure, powerful men threaten people, loudly and visibly so everyone in the room knows they are being threatened. Galino operates differently. He says one thing and means three others. He smiles at exactly the right moment. He makes you feel respected and valued right up until the second he needs you to understand that your comfort in this relationship is entirely conditional. And that remark he made in the season 2 finale was the clearest window this show has ever given us into exactly who this man is underneath all of that composure. It was not a warning. Warnings are for people who still have room to course correct. What Galino said to Tommy in that finale was a promise delivered so quietly and so casually that it almost didn't register as dangerous. Almost. But Tommy heard it, and Tommy, who reads rooms and reads people better than almost anyone in this world, understood exactly what was being communicated. That the $44 million came with something attached that no contract is going to spell out. That Galino's investment in CTT is also Galino's claim on Tommy. Not on the company, on Tommy personally, on his judgment, his loyalty, his decisions, his future. And if any of those things ever give Galino a reason to doubt, the response is not going to be a strongly worded letter or a legal dispute. We already know what the response looks like. We heard it in the finale. So now place that reality next to everything CT is trying to build and feel how much pressure is sitting on Tommy's shoulders going into season 3. Because on the surface, CTT looks like a dream coming together. Cooper as president, Rebecca handling legal and operations, Nate on the finances, Dale running exploration, Thomas in charge of drilling, Ariana keeping everything organized on the ground. This is not a group of strangers trying to figure out how to work together. This is a team of people who have history, who have trust, who have already been through enough together to know how each other operates under pressure. That kind of team is genuinely rare in this industry. Tommy knows it, everyone around him knows it, and yet knowing that you have something rare does not protect it. If anything, it raises the cost of losing it. Because here's the truth about putting people you love into a business together. When everything is working, when the momentum is building and the wins are coming in and the future looks bright, the bonds feel unbreakable. But this industry does not let momentum run unopposed for long. There are going to be moments in season 3 where the pressure inside CTT is going to be just as intense as the pressure coming from outside it. There are going to be decisions where Tommy and Cooper see things differently. There are going to be moments where Rebecca's instinct to protect the company and Tommy's instinct to do right by people are going to pull in completely opposite directions. There are going to be situations where the team that looks so solid on paper is going to show exactly where its cracks are. And those cracks are going to be exploited by Galino, by whatever is in those documents, and possibly by Cami herself. Rebecca is the piece of this that people are not talking about enough. Because Rebecca as COO and chief counsel means that she is the filter through which every major decision at CTT has to pass. And Rebecca is not someone who lets loyalty override her judgment about risk. She is sharp and she is protective of what they have built in a way that is going to put her directly in the path of whatever Cami brings to Tommy's door. Because the moment Cami shows up with those documents and whatever catastrophic secret is buried inside them, Rebecca is going to be the one asking the questions that nobody else wants to ask out loud. What does engaging with this cost CTT? What legal exposure does helping Cami create? What happens to Galino's confidence in this company if he finds out they are involved in whatever?
By my husband who thrived on it, who built a fortune because of it.
He died because of it, Cami.
No, I disagree. I'd say it's what allowed him to live.
In whatever MTX is sitting on. Those are not comfortable questions, but they are the right ones. And Tommy is going to have to sit across from the woman he built this company with and genuinely wrestle with the possibility that the right answer for CTT and the right answer for Tommy as a human being are not the same answer. Those documents are not just a plot device, they are the entire reason Season 3 exists. Because without them, Cami's story ends in Season 2 as a simple cautionary tale about a woman who had everything and threw it away. With them, her story becomes something far more complicated, far more dangerous, and far more interesting. Monty was not a careless man. Every person who ever worked beside him, every person who ever sat across a table from him, every person who ever watched him operate in this industry knows that. Monty did not make moves without thinking 10 steps ahead. He did not leave loose ends. He did not forget things or overlook things or let important details slip through the cracks. Which means that if he kept those documents completely off the electronic record, if he went out of his way to make sure they existed only in physical form, hidden from his own wife, hidden from his own company, then what is inside them was never meant to surface. Ever. And that is what makes Cami's situation in Season 3 so uniquely terrifying. Because she did not stumble onto a minor secret, she did not find a bad deal or a shady contract or something that a good lawyer could clean up in a back room. Whatever Monty hid in those papers is the kind of secret that a man who ran a major oil company and knew exactly how to cover his tracks decided was too dangerous to leave any digital trail of. That level of deliberate concealment means one thing and one thing only. Those documents have the power to destroy something, or someone, or possibly several people at the same time. Nate told her to dig, and that is important because Nate does not give advice carelessly. He is the most measured, most calculated person in this entire world. When Nate tells you to dig deeper, it is not a casual suggestion. It is because he already suspects what is down there and he knows that not knowing is more dangerous than knowing. So Cami dug, and based on everything the Season 3 trailer is showing us, what she found when she dug is not something she could process alone. Not something she could hand off to a lawyer and walk away from. Not something that gets better with time or distance. What she found sent her straight to the one person she swore she would never need again. And that tells you everything about how serious this is. Now here is where it gets layers inside of layers. Because Tommy was not just an employee at MTX. Tommy was inside that company for years. He was in the rooms where the real decisions got made. He was the man Monty trusted with the operational side of everything, which means if Monty was hiding something that touched the business, something that affected the way MTX operated or the relationships it depended on, there is a real and serious possibility that Tommy is connected to it, whether he knows it or not. Not because Tommy did anything wrong, but because he was there. Because he was close, because when you are the man who holds everything together, you are also the man who is standing closest to whatever is buried underneath. And that creates a dynamic going into Season 3 that is genuinely unlike anything this show has done before. Cami needs Tommy's help. She cannot handle what she found alone. But bringing Tommy into it means exposing him to something that could reach back and pull CTT into a situation that has nothing to do with anything he built. Everything Tommy has right now, the company, the team, the $44 million, the credibility he spent his entire career earning, all of it could be touched by whatever is in those documents. So when Cami sits across from him, she is not just asking for help. She is potentially handing him a grenade and asking him to hold it with her. And Tommy is smart enough to know that, which means that conversation is not going to be simple and it is not going to be short. But the real question, the one that should be keeping every single person watching this show wide awake, is not whether Tommy helps Cami. It is what happens if those documents have something to say about Galeno. Because if Monty knew something about Galeno, something dangerous enough to hide this carefully, then Tommy did not just build a company with the wrong investor. He handed the keys.
Tommy,
Walt, what in the shit is going on with my son?
I just heard about it.
Well, you're gonna have to help me fix it, okay?
So boy died, Tommy.
I don't give a shit. I need the facts, Walt. I need the facts, I need police reports, I need...
Of everything he owns to a man who might have a history with his former boss that nobody was ever supposed to find out about. And if that history surfaces in season 3, Tommy is not just dealing with a business problem anymore. He is standing in the middle of something that was already in motion before he ever shook Galino's hand, before CTT ever existed, before any of this began. And the most dangerous part, Galino already knows where Tommy lives. Cami had everything. The company, the connections, the name, the resources, everything Monty spent his entire life building was sitting right there in her hands. And she burned it not all at once, not in one dramatic moment, but piece by piece, decision by decision, person by person, until there was nothing left but the wreckage of every bridge she ever set on fire. And now, in season 3, the woman who fired Tommy like he was just another employee, the woman who picked up the phone and tried to hand his job to Nate like it was nothing, the woman who pushed away every single person who was willing to fight for her, that woman is sitting across from Tommy with nowhere else to go. And Tommy is not the same man she showed the door. He walked out of MTX with nothing and built CTTT from the ground up. $44 million from Galino. A real team, a real company, his name on the door this time. So when the season 3 trailer shows us Cami reaching out to Tommy, understand what you are actually watching. This is not a reunion. This is not a second chance. This is a woman who destroyed her own empire, finally coming face to face with the man she should have never let go. Let's go back to where this really started, because you cannot understand how heavy this moment is in season 3 without understanding exactly what Cami did in season 2. And I mean, exactly. Not the surface version, not the simplified version, but the full picture of every single decision she made that led her to this point. When Monty died, Cami inherited more than a company. She inherited a machine that was already running, already respected, already feared in the right rooms. MTX was not a startup. It was not a project in progress. It was a fully operational empire built on years of the right relationships, the right calls, and the right people being in the right positions. And the most important person in that entire operation was not in the boardroom. He was not in the corner office. He was the man who kept every single moving part from falling apart at the same time. Tommy. The guy who walked into rooms that were already on fire and walked out with a deal signed and the flames out. That was the foundation Cami was standing on, whether she realized it or not. And here is the part that makes everything so painful to watch. She did realize it. Deep down, Cami knew exactly what Tommy brought to that company. She had watched him operate. She had seen what he could do. She knew that Galino respected him, that the team trusted him, that the entire industry had an opinion about Tommy that was nothing but positive. She knew all of that. And she still let her own insecurity make the decision for her, because that is what that firing was. It was not a business decision. It was not a strategic move. It was a woman so desperate to prove that she was in control, so terrified of being seen as just Monty's widow who needed someone else to run things, that she removed the one person who was genuinely holding everything together. And the moment she did that, the clock started ticking on MTX. Think about what she actually had before that moment. She had Tommy, who is the kind of operational mind that companies spend decades trying to find. She had Nate, who understood the financial architecture of MTX better than anyone alive. She had Galino's goodwill, which in this industry is not just valuable, it is irreplaceable. She had the loyalty of people who had worked beside Monty for years and were prepared to extend that same loyalty to her if she gave them any reason to. She had every single ingredient that a company needs to not just survive a leadership transition, but to actually grow through one. Every ingredient. And she threw them away one by one like they meant nothing. Nate was her second chance, and she wasted it. After firing Tommy, she called Nate and offered him the job like it was a promotion, like taking Tommy's place was something Nate would just step into without a second thought. And Nate, to his absolute credit, said no, not because he couldn't do the job, but because he understood what that offer meant. It meant Cami still didn't get it. It meant she thought the problem was Tommy specifically and not the pattern she was locked into. Nate drawing that line was the
success. Get that for me.